Alright, so I saw this tweet and I thought it was a tad bit ridiculous, and judging by almost every comment on this tweet, I'm not the only one. About 15,000 replies, I read through a few hundred of them, I don't really know why, but not one was positive. But anyway, Charlotte Alter, a correspondent with Time, basically says that millennials have not experienced prosperity in their adult lives. Now I can kind of see why someone would say that, and I'll get to that a little bit later. But she also says this is why they are embracing democratic socialism. Alright, well, I would be hesitant in saying that millennials lack prosperity, but they definitely lack perspective, and this tweet is a perfect example of that. Here we have a person and a generation of people who have experienced an unprecedented amount of technological growth surrounding them, an unparalleled amount of capability in their own lives. Food, travel, entertainment, vehicles, information, all right at their fingertips. The biggest problem you may have is being paralyzed by all the options available to you. We live lives that 20 years ago would have been considered science fiction, and it's easily the most taken for granted thing today. Now, it is true that millennials face problems that their parents or grandparents didn't face. Student loan debt has obviously gotten way out of hand, for example, but there are solutions to this, none of them having to do with democratic socialism or more government involvement. Government involvement in federal loans and the subsequent artificial increase in demand within higher education is right at the root of the cause of the price increases we've been seeing. So to any millennials that might hear this, just know that Charlotte Adler is not doing you any favors by not pointing out that the government is not a good solution to this problem. Be responsible, do your research. If you love dancing or art history or fashion design, that's fantastic. That sounds like an awesome hobby, but you should not go to college for it. So I'm not trying to say that millennials have no problems that their parents had, but I wish they would recognize that the problem areas within their life stem from what government has done. After all, they want to forgive student loan debt, for example. They should recognize the terrible implications of this. How about any public college that has been wasteful, putting money into ostentatious fitness facilities and arenas, or millions of dollars into diversity salaries or inclusion departments? This sends a huge signal to colleges that prospective students will no longer be price sensitive, and they have absolutely no incentive to cut costs whatsoever. Therefore, prices will rise even further, and someone has to foot that bill, and it will be all of us through taxation, or we just put ourselves further into debt as if we aren't taxed enough to death, or we aren't in a big enough hole of debt. It's been said a million times, but there really is no such thing as a free lunch, and it will always come around the other side to bite you. But you know, I know this is a little bit anecdotal, but I know plenty of people in my personal life, and I look at their social media from time to time, and I know what jobs they have. They lead middle-of-the-road, average lives with an average job. And several times a year, I see these millennials, which I am one of those as well, I see they take trips to Sri Lanka or to Japan, or they want to get out of the cold in December, so they fly down to the Caribbean. And guess what? While they're gone for 2 weeks, if they miss someone from back home, they FaceTime them and talk face-to-face while they're on the other side of the planet. If they find some new food they've never heard of, they look it up right there on their phone, find all of its nutritional data, find out whether or not there is likely an allergy to be worried about, its history, whatever else they want to know. You want to go somewhere but you don't have a car, call for an Uber or Lyft, get chauffeured around, and as long as you're not going across an entire country, it's generally pretty cheap. You see, the amazing prosperity and capability that millennials have in their life stem from the private sector. The hardships they are talking about only stem from the industries that have been fused at the hip to government. I just wish this was pointed out a bit more often so they could start thinking a little bit more clearly on these things. And Charlotte Alter is not helping. But that's all for now. Like and subscribe and blah blah blah. Peace.